What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to of course be talking about with you guys. In today's video, what I actually want to talk about is the recent reports that actually do suggest that the Cleveland Cavaliers are interested in potentially trading for Jerami Grant, and of course talking about the official mock trade that has been recently revealed. So for those of you who haven't actually seen this, basically it was released a couple days ago that we were interested in Jerami Grant, and that it's currently being suggested by John Hollinger, and that we are, and he stated that we should be putting a package together that has Collin Sexton, Dylan Windler, and a second round pick for forward Jerami Grant. After that, he believes the Cavs should send Kevin Pangos and Dean Wade to the Celtics for Dennis Schroder. Now, I'm going to kind of break this down, because, again, he's also suggesting maybe that the Cleveland Cavaliers are potentially interested in trading for Dennis Schroder, and I believe a couple other people have suggested this as well, and have, of course, suggested Jerami Grant over the time, and I just really want to say that I'm going to rule out Dennis Schroder straight away. I don't think the Cleveland Cavaliers should go out and trade for Dennis Schroder. I think you're really kind of contradicting yourself if you're trading away Collin Sexton, because, like, if you're trading away Collin Sexton, you're pretty much just saying to yourself, well, it doesn't look like Sexton can play with Darius Garland. It just doesn't really work. Of course, Sexton's not a good enough defender, or not really tall enough, I think it's maybe the better word, to guard that shooting guard position. He maybe takes the ball too much off Garland. He disrupts kind of the ball movement, and I think that's what most people are saying if they want to trade Collin Sexton away. And if you were to trade Sexton and bring back Dennis Schroder, it really doesn't make any sense at all, because Dennis Schroder literally does the exact same thing Collin Sexton does, just at a way worse level. So there would legitimately be no point trading for Dennis Schroder, considering you've already got Collin Sexton. So it just would make absolutely no sense. Not just that, I don't think the Celtics would trade for Kevin Pangos and, Dean Wade. I think Dean Wade is actually a really solid player, but the Celtics have a bunch of forwards on their team that are legitimately not getting minutes as it is, because they're either not that great or whatever the case may be. They've got Jabari Parker, Grant Williams, Jason Tatum, Al-Farouq Aminu, Robert Williams, Al Horford, Enes Kanter. I think even Bruno actually, I'm not too sure if Hernan Gomez is still on the roster, but they got like 7 or 8 forward/centers at this point, so it's really crazy. I don't think they need another one. I wouldn't suggest that at all. Not just that, Kevin Pangos is a decent player, but look, I just feel like if the Celtics are going to go for a playmaker, they're going to go for someone who's a little bit better than Kevin Pangos in the long-term kind of situation. But yeah, it wouldn't make sense for either teams. I think it's a lose-lose. I don't think the Celtics get back enough, and I don't think the Cavaliers need to trade for Dennis Schroder. I don't think it really makes too much sense at all, and I just really kind of think that you might as well just roll it out with write it out rather with Collin Sexton, and maybe see how that goes if you really wanted to bring in another scorer. Not just that, it just doesn't make sense. Dennis Schroder, I'm kind of going to put this one to bed. There's not really too much to talk about it, because I think most Cleveland Cavalier fans will agree with me that the trade is just stupid, not only for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but it's pretty goddamn bad for the Boston Celtics as well. Now, moving on to Jerami Grant. I'm going to break this trade down, and I've seen a lot of Cavs fans talk about this. I think about 70% of the fans don't like it, and about 30% of the fans do. I'm agreeing with the 70%. Again, you guys can have a different opinion down below. Just comment it, I guess. I would actually really like to hear those who are in for trading for Jerami Grant, just to, kind of let me know why. Why do you think we should go for Jerami Grant? Let me know down below. But I'm going to talk about why we shouldn't, and why I think the Cleveland Cavaliers would actually extremely lose that trade against, the Detroit Pistons. First of all, Collin Sexton he's a guaranteed 2 first-round picks, right? You're going into this free agency with 2 options, really. Or there could even be a little bit more. You got the option of contract extending him, or you've got the option of sign and trading him. I guess there's the other option of contract extending him, seeing how you go, and then trading him later on the next year if you don't like him. There's a bunch of different cases and scenarios, but we're going to be looking at the 2. That's contract extend him or sign and trade. First of all, if you contract extend him, you're going to get a young player for 5 years who is extremely determined, a late scorer in the league, has a lot of issues with passing and defense at times, but still, he's a young guy. Again, we've seen that Donovan Mitchell is not a very tall guy for his position as well, so there's always... We've seen that if he can do it, maybe Collin Sexton could figure it out one day and learn how to guard that 2 position. But again, that's not what I'm kind of want to talk about here. Like, that's the thing, right? If you re-sign him, you get that type of guy. But if you don't, you got to guarantee 2 first-round picks right there. I don't know who would make the trade. I know OKC are really interested, a couple other teams here and there, but you've got to guarantee 2 first-round picks. And those 2 first-round picks could be like, pick 15 one year and like pick 15 the next year if it goes well. But then there's the other situation, which I think is the more likely now, because the Cleveland Cavaliers are in such a good position in the NBA. At the time of making this video, they're like 20-16. They're in no rush to trade Collin Sexton as well. If a team wants Collin Sexton, they're going to have to give up more than 2 first-round picks, because the Cavaliers are in legitimate no rush at this point in time. And for all we know, Collin Sexton could boost his trade value eventually as well. And even if he doesn't, let's just say he maybe doesn't do as well, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get 2 first-round picks out of him, just because there's always the thing that the Cavs can say, well, the reason he's not playing as good is because he's playing not in his main position, this and that, he's still young. Cavs got a billion excuses if his value were to maybe drop. They could just say this and that. So basically, worst case scenario drops a little bit, but best case scenario goes up heaps. That's the thing. The Cavaliers have all the time in the world, and that's why I think they'll either get 3 first-round picks out of Collin Sexton, or 2 first-round picks and a pretty solid young player or role player, or maybe try for a star. They could do a star for Sexton, a pick or something like that. Who even knows? If you're going to trade up Collin Sexton for Jerami Grant, I just feel like the Detroit Pistons take a massive W right there, because I think Collin Sexton would be the perfect player really to put with Cade Cunningham. And the reason I say that is the reason Collin Sexton is he found it hard this year before his injury is because he's a guy that should be playing the 2 on offense, but is too small to defend the 2 on defense. Therefore, on offense, he needs to be playing the shooting guard position, but on defense, he needs to be, guarding the 1 position. So that's basically how it is. And if you were to trade him to the Detroit Pistons, he can do that. He can play the 2 position and guard the 1 position, because Cade Cunningham, who will play the 1 position, who is 6'7", can therefore go ahead and guard the 2 position, if that makes sense. So on the Detroit Pistons, he would actually be great for them. Not just that, he's about 5 years younger than Jerami Grant. I could see him on the Pistons absolutely exploding for like 24 points per game again, which would be at least 4 points per game more than what Jerami Grant would be. I think he's a bit more efficient than Jerami Grant. Of course, he's not as good as on defense and this and that. But I think if you trade away Jerami Grant, a player like Saddiq Bey will naturally now more get to play that power forward position. And a dude like Diallo, who's been playing out of his mind, can therefore be like the natural starting small forward next season. Or you could go out and, draft a small forward. Not just that, this fixes the Killian Hayes problem, where Killian Hayes just hasn't been that good for the Pistons. I don't know what they're going to do with him if they were to get Collin Sexton. Play him on the bench, maybe. I don't even know. But yeah, Sexton will probably be looking for around a $25 million per year type deal. Now, that's a huge W for the Pistons. Not just that, you get a 2nd round pick, which you can, still draft a player with or something like that. And then there's the other one, Dylan Windler, who hasn't necessarily fit in with the Cavs, but is another small forward who can come in, or a wing to be more precise, and add a lot of depth to this, Detroit Pistons team, and add something in that they're not exactly the greatest team at, and that is elite 3-point shooting. So that's the thing. You basically, that does really well for the Detroit Pistons. But if we're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're probably not taking Jerami Grant, because you've already got a bunch of these forward players that I just don't think there would be a point. I think you would rather trade Collin Sexton away for a bunch of first round picks, because then you can kind of make your mind up later on what you want to do with those first round picks. Do you want to keep rebuilding on the run like they're kind of doing now, where they're going to gradually get better and better every year while still potentially drafting players? Or do you want to trade away those first round picks to try and bring in a star? That's what I think they can do. But if you go out and get Jerami Grant, you're bringing a guy that might not necessarily fit in with the team. And it's going to be really hard, because if you bring Grant, then Markkanen will probably have to come off the bench. And is Markkanen too expensive to come off the bench? Probably. So it's a really difficult decision, and it's going to be really, really hard to see how this, of course, all does unfold. But as I was saying, in my opinion, I wouldn't do this if I was the Cleveland Cavaliers. If I was the Detroit Pistons, though, I would absolutely do this in a heartbeat. I think you absolutely have to at this point, because, like, wow, if you got Collin Sexton and, Dylan Windler and a second-round pick out of a dude that I don't necessarily think wants to be there anymore, plus it's time for him to kind of move on now at this point, I think you're absolutely winning. So, big W for Pistons fans. I think L for the Cleveland Cavaliers if this trade was to happen. But of course, I would very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for all the latest NBA content and NBA news. Comment in the comment section, what do you guys think? Should the Cavs go and trade for a dude like Jerami Grant? Should the Pistons, of course, go ahead and trade for a guy like Collin Sexton? Of course, I would very much like to know. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channel. So check out my podcast as well if you haven't already. Links for them will all be in the description down below. But as I was saying, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.